Olivia Thornfield was late. Again. Her vintage Volkswagen Beetle sputtered along the coastal highway as she nervously checked her watch for the 5th time in as many minutes. The charity gala at the Spencer Foundation would begin in exactly 23 minutes, and she was still 15 miles away from the venue. "Come on, Betty," she pleaded with her car, patting the dashboard affectionately. "Just one more miracle." As if in direct response, the engine made a sound like a dying rhinoceros, and thick black smoke began pouring from under the hood. "Not that kind of miracle," Olivia screamed, frantically steering the failing vehicle to the shoulder of the road. Just as she brought the car to a complete stop, a terrifying pop was followed by actual flames licking up from beneath the hood. Olivia grabbed her purse and the garment bag containing her dress and scrambled out, running a safe distance away before turning to watch in horror as her beloved Betty became a bonfire against the twilight sky. "Perfect. Just perfect," she muttered, pulling out her phone to call the fire department. That's when she heard the distinctive purr of an approaching Aston Martin. The sleek silver car slowed to a stop behind her blazing Beetle, and Olivia's heart sank. She knew exactly who owned that car. The driver's door opened, and out stepped Nathaniel Nate Spencer, 6 feet 2 inches of impeccable tailoring and devastating good looks. Billionaire tech innovator, philanthropist, and the object of Olivia's unrequited love since they were 10 years old. "Liv," he called, jogging toward her with genuine concern etched across his features. "Are you okay?" "Oh, I'm fantastic," she replied, gesturing toward the automotive inferno. "Just thought I'd spice up my evening with a little vehicular combustion." Nate's laugh was warm and familiar. They'd been neighbors as children, best friends through their awkward teenage years, and now, at 28, they remained close despite their vastly different lives. His, a world of boardrooms and billions. Hers, a modest existence as an elementary school art teacher with a penchant for vintage cars that apparently enjoyed self-immolation. "You were headed to the gala, right?" he asked, eyeing the garment, bag she clutched protectively. "Trying to," Olivia sighed, but the universe clearly had other plans. "Come on," Nate said, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "I'll give you a ride." "But what about Betty?" Olivia protested, pointing to her flaming car. Nate was already on his phone. "Marcus? Yeah, it's me. I need a tow truck on Highway 101, mile marker 37. Yes, for a classic VW Beetle. Yes, the one that's currently on fire." 20 minutes later, Olivia found herself in the passenger seat of Nate's ridiculously expensive car, still in her jeans and faded t-shirt that read, "Art teachers do it with class." The firefighters had arrived quickly, extinguished Betty, and Nate's assistant had arranged for the car to be towed to the best classic auto repair shop in the city. "You can change at my place," Nate offered as they approached the exit for his beachfront mansion. "The gala doesn't really get going until 9 anyway. Thanks," Olivia said, trying to ignore how good he smelled, a mix of expensive cologne and something uniquely Nate. She'd spent nearly 2 decades perfecting the art of hiding her feelings for him. He saw her as nothing more than his quirky, childhood friend, and she'd resigned herself to that role. Until recently. 3 weeks ago, at a charity lunch, she'd overheard his mother, the formidable Eleanor Spencer, discussing potential suitable matches for her son. At the top of the list was Valentina Mendez, the stunning and brilliant neurosurgeon whose family owned half of South America. "I've invited her to the gala," Eleanor had said to her luncheon companions. "Nathaniel needs someone of substance, of proper breeding. It's time he settled down." As they pulled into Nate's circular driveway, Olivia stared up at the modernist glass and steel structure that somehow managed to look both imposing and welcoming at the same time. Just like its owner. "You okay, Liv?" Nate asked, his brow furrowed in concern. Olivia forced a smile. "Sure. Just thinking about poor Betty." But her mind was racing ahead to the gala, where Valentina Mendez would be waiting. Olivia had spent her whole life watching Nate from the sidelines. Maybe it was finally time to step onto the field and play. What she didn't know was that the game had already begun, and she wasn't the only one with a strategy. "This is the guest bathroom," Nate said unnecessarily, leading Olivia into a space larger than her entire apartment. "I remember," Olivia replied with a small smile. She'd been here countless times over the years, for birthday parties, holiday gatherings, and the occasional late-night ice cream therapy session when one of them was going through a rough patch. Usually her. "Right. Of course." Nate ran a hand through his perfectly styled dark hair, suddenly awkward. "I'll, let you get ready. Take your time." As the door closed behind him, Olivia caught her reflection in the massive mirror and winced. Smudges of soot decorated her cheeks, and her honey-blonde hair had frizzed into what could only be described as a bird's nest seeking political asylum. "Valentina Mendez, eat your heart out," she muttered sarcastically, unzipping the garment bag to reveal her dress, a vintage emerald, green number she'd found at a secondhand shop, and altered herself. It was nothing like the designer gowns that would be floating around the gala tonight, but it brought out the green in her hazel eyes and hugged her curves in all the right places. 30 minutes later, Olivia emerged from the bathroom transformed. A hot shower had restored her hair to its natural waves, and her minimal but effective makeup enhanced rather than masked her features. The dress shimmered subtly in the hallway light, making her look like a mermaid who had decided land was worth a shot after all. She found Nate in his study, speaking rapidly on the phone while simultaneously typing on his laptop. Even in relaxed mode, he exuded an air of authority and purpose that made her heart flutter. He was wearing a custom-tailored tuxedo that made him look like he'd stepped straight out of a James Bond film. He glanced up as she entered, and for a split second, something flashed across his face, something that made Olivia's breath catch. Then he smiled his usual friendly smile. "I have to go, Harrison. We'll pick this up tomorrow," he said into the phone before hanging up. "Wow, Liv. You look different." "Different good or different did you fall into a vat of radioactive waste?" she asked, smoothing her dress nervously. "Definitely good," he replied, his eyes lingering a moment longer than usual. "Ready to face the wolves?" The Spencer Foundation Gala was held annually at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which had been transformed into a glittering wonderland of lights and flowers. As Nate's Aston Martin pulled up to the entrance, Olivia's stomach tightened with nerves. "Breathe," Nate whispered, noticing her tension as he handed his keys to the valet. "It's just a bunch of rich people trying to outdo each other with their tax deductions." "Easy for you to say," Olivia hissed back. "You're one of them." "I'm still me, Liv," he said softly, offering his arm. "Still the same kid who helped you build that terrible treehouse that collapsed after 3 days." "It collapsed because you insisted on adding a satellite dish," she retorted, but took his arm gratefully. The moment they entered, all eyes turned their way. Olivia felt the weight of those stares, curious, evaluating, some downright hostile. Nate Spencer, bringing a date to his own foundation's gala? Scandalous. "Nathaniel, darling." A voice cut through the murmur of the crowd. Eleanor Spencer, regal in midnight blue, descended upon them like a perfectly coiffed hawk. "And Olivia. What a surprise." "Hello, Mrs. Spencer," Olivia said, forcing warmth into her voice. Eleanor had never been particularly fond of her, viewing Olivia as a remnant of Nate's less polished past. "Mother." Nate kissed her cheek. "You look stunning, as always." "Valentina just arrived," Eleanor said, cutting straight to her agenda. "She's by the Monet. I told her you'd be thrilled. To give her a personal tour." Nate's expression remained neutral, but Olivia felt his arm tense beneath her fingers. "Actually, Mother, Olivia and I were just about to get some champagne." "Nonsense. Olivia knows her way around, don't you, dear?" Eleanor's smile didn't reach her eyes. Before either could respond, a statuesque woman in a blood-red designer gown glided toward them. Valentina Mendez was even more beautiful in person, flawless caramel skin, cascading dark hair, and intelligent eyes that assessed the situation in seconds. "Nathaniel," she greeted him with a kiss on each cheek. Her accent was slight but appealing. "And this must be your friend I've heard about." "Dr. Mendez." Olivia extended her hand professionally. "Olivia Thornfield." "The art teacher, yes?" Valentina's smile was genuine, which somehow made it worse. "How charming." Eleanor beamed at the interaction. "Valentina is pioneering revolutionary brain surgery techniques. She's just been featured in Time magazine." "I saw that," Olivia said truthfully. "Your work on neuroplasticity in trauma patients is groundbreaking." Surprise flickered across Valentina's perfect features. "You read neuroscience journals?" "I read everything," Olivia shrugged. "Occupational hazard of being curious." An uncomfortable silence followed, broken when a waiter passed with champagne. Nate snagged 2 glasses, handing one to Olivia. "If you'll excuse us," he said smoothly. "I promised Olivia I'd show her the new exhibit." As they walked away, Olivia took a large gulp of champagne. "Well, that was excruciating." "Sorry about that," Nate murmured. "My mother can be..." "A perfectly natural mother who wants the best for her son," Olivia supplied. "And let's be honest, Valentina she's intimidating," Nate suggested. "Perfect," Olivia corrected. "She's literally perfect." Nate stopped walking and turned to face her, his expression unreadable. "Nobody's perfect, Liv." Their eyes locked, and for a moment the crowded gala faded away. Then Nate's phone buzzed, breaking the spell. "I have to take this," he said, checking the screen. "It's the Tokyo office. I'll be right back." As he stepped away, Olivia found herself alone in a sea of wealth and privilege. She took another sip of champagne and made a decision. If she was going to compete with Valentina Mendez, she needed to stop hiding in Nate's shadow. It was time to shine on her own. Olivia moved through the gala with newfound purpose, champagne flute in hand. If she couldn't compete with Valentina's credentials, she could at least showcase what she did have: genuine connections with people, and a lifetime of knowledge about Nathaniel Spencer. "Ms. Thornfield," a jovial voice called out to her. She turned to see Howard Blackwell, one of the Spencer Foundation's oldest board members, and Nate's godfather. The elderly man's eyes twinkled with mischief as he approached. "What a delightful surprise to see you here with Nathaniel." "Mr. Blackwell." Olivia embraced him warmly. "How are those grandchildren of yours? Did Emma win her science fair?" "First place," Howard beamed. "And little James started kindergarten last month. Still, carrying that dinosaur toy you gave him everywhere he goes. The T-Rex with the bow tie. I'm glad he likes it." Howard leaned closer. "Much better company than most of these vultures," he whispered, gesturing subtly around the room. "Present company excluded, of course." "Of course," Olivia laughed. "That boy finally wise up and ask you out properly?" Howard asked bluntly, nodding toward where Nate stood across the room, deep in conversation with a group of investors. Olivia nearly choked on her champagne. "We're just friends, Mr. Blackwell. Always have been." The old man hummed skeptically. "And I'm just a humble factory worker. Listen, my dear, I've known that boy since he was in diapers. The way he looks at you when you're not watching, that's not just friends." Before Olivia could process this bombshell, Eleanor Spencer materialized beside them, Valentina in tow. "Howard, darling, I see you've met Dr. Mendez." "Indeed," Howard replied, his tone notably cooler. "We were just discussing her research." "Fascinating stuff," Eleanor gushed. "Valentina, have you met Olivia?" She's an elementary school teacher, so nurturing. The way Eleanor said nurturing made it sound like a terminal disease. Art teacher, actually, Olivia corrected. And we've met. Olivia was just telling me about her incredible work with at-risk youth, Howard interjected smoothly. Did you know her art therapy program has been adopted by 3 school districts? Now? The results in behavioral improvement are remarkable. Olivia shot Howard a grateful look. She had mentioned her program to him once, almost a year ago. The fact that he remembered and considered it important enough to mention made her chest warm with affection for the old man. How community-minded, Eleanor commented dismissively. Valentina's foundation has just pledged $10 million to children's neurological research. Actually, Valentina said, surprising everyone, I'd love to hear more about your program, Olivia. Art therapy was instrumental in my brother's recovery after his accident. Caught off guard by this genuine interest, Olivia found herself engaged in an animated conversation with Valentina about the healing power of creative expression. To her further surprise, the neurosurgeon was knowledgeable, passionate, and disarmingly authentic. You're not making this easy, Olivia muttered under her breath. Pardon? Valentina tilted her head. Nothing, Olivia smiled, just thinking aloud. Across the room, Nate finished his phone call and looked around, his eyes searching until they landed on Olivia. Even from a distance, she could see his expression soften. Then he noticed who she was talking to, and something like alarm flickered across his features. He made his way over quickly. Everything okay here? Wonderful, Eleanor purred. Valentina and Olivia are getting along famously. Isn't that lovely? Olivia was just telling me about her art therapy program, Valentina explained. It's quite impressive. Nate's face broke into a proud grin. Liv's program is incredible. She developed it from scratch with almost no funding, increased attendance, rates by 40% in the first semester. The way he spoke about her work, with such genuine admiration, made Olivia's heart skip. She'd always assumed he merely humored her passion projects. You never told me the statistics, she said quietly. Nate looked surprised. Of course I keep track. It's important to you. An uncomfortable silence fell over the group, broken by the clinking of a glass as the evening's formal program began. The Foundation's executive director took the stage to announce the night's fundraising total and introduce the keynote speaker, none other than Nathaniel Spencer himself. Excuse me, Nate said, straightening his bow tie. Duty calls. As he walked toward the stage, Eleanor seized the opportunity. Olivia, dear, could I have a word in private? Warning bells clanged in Olivia's mind, but she nodded politely and followed Eleanor to a quiet alcove near a massive floral arrangement. You've been friends with my son for a long time, Eleanor began, her voice soft but steely. Since we were children, Olivia confirmed. Then surely you want what's best for him. Olivia met the older woman's gaze steadily. I've always wanted what's best for Nate. Then you understand why I'm concerned about whatever this is. Eleanor gestured vaguely at Olivia's presence. Nathaniel needs a partner who can help him navigate his world. Someone with connections, sophistication, the right background. Someone like Valentina, Olivia supplied flatly. Precisely. She's his equal in every way. Eleanor's eyes softened slightly. I know you care for him, dear, but you must see that you'd only hold him back. The words struck Olivia like physical blows, all the more painful because they voiced her deepest insecurities. What could she, a public school teacher with a burning car and a tiny apartment, possibly offer a man who had everything? From the stage, Nate's voice carried throughout the hall as he spoke passionately about the Foundation's mission to provide educational opportunities to underprivileged children. Olivia turned to watch him, remembering the gangly 14-year-old who'd defended her against bullies, the college sophomore who'd driven 4 hours to bring her soup when she had the flu, the man who'd just arranged for her beloved car to be repaired without a second thought. "You're right about one thing, Mrs. Spencer," Olivia said finally, turning back to face Eleanor. "I do care for him. I always have." Eleanor's expression hardened. "Then do the right thing. Step aside." "The right thing," Olivia repeated thoughtfully. "You know, Nate and I built a treehouse once when we were kids. It collapsed after 3 days because we tried to add too many fancy features instead of focusing on the foundation." She smiled at the memory. "I think we've both learned since then that the strongest structures are built on solid foundations, not flashy additions." With that, she walked away, leaving Eleanor Spencer momentarily speechless. A rare achievement indeed. As applause erupted for Nate's speech, Olivia made her way to the bar, her mind racing. Howard's words about the way Nate looked at her conflicted with Eleanor's brutal assessment. Who was right? And more importantly, what was she going to do about it? "Gin and tonic, please," she said to the bartender. "Double." "Make that 2, came a familiar voice beside her. Valentina slid onto the neighboring bar stool with effortless grace. "Eleanor gave you the step-aside speech, didn't she?" Olivia nearly spilled her freshly delivered drink. "How did you know?" Valentina laughed, a surprisingly rich, unrestrained sound. "Because she gave me the perfect match speech earlier. That woman is determined. She wants what's best for Nate." Olivia felt compelled to defend. "No," Valentina corrected, taking a sip of her drink. "She wants what she thinks is best for the Spencer dynasty. Not the same thing." She studied Olivia curiously. "How long have you been in love with him?" The direct question caught Olivia off guard. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to another woman," Valentina assured her. "Men are wonderfully oblivious to these things." Olivia wasn't sure what surprised her more, Valentina's perceptiveness or her apparent lack of competitive hostility. "Since we were 15, she admitted, "but he's never seen me that way." "Are you sure about that?" Valentina asked, gesturing with her glass toward where Nate stood, his eyes fixed on them with unmistakable concern. And for the first time in nearly 15 years, Olivia wasn't sure at all. The next morning, Olivia woke to the insistent buzzing of her phone. Groaning, she fumbled for it on her nightstand, knocking over an empty water glass in the process. "Hello?" she croaked, not bothering to check the caller ID. "Rise and shine, Sleeping Beauty." The cheerful voice of her best friend, Zoe Chen, blasted through the speaker. "I need details. Now, the entire internet is buzzing about you and Billionaire Boy." Olivia bolted upright. "What are you talking about? Check your Instagram, or Twitter, or literally any gossip site. You've gone viral, honey." With a sense of foreboding, Olivia put Zoe on speaker and opened her social media apps. Sure enough, her notifications had exploded overnight. A quick search revealed dozens of photos from the gala. Her and Nate arriving together, talking closely by the Dega exhibit, laughing with Howard Blackwell. The captions ranged from "Spencer's mystery woman" to the more direct, "Who is Nathaniel Spencer's new girlfriend?" "Oh God," Olivia moaned, flopping back onto her pillows. "This is a nightmare." "A nightmare," Zoe scoffed. "Girl, you're trending. Do you know how many women would kill to be in your Cinderella slippers right now?" "It's not like that, Zoe. We're just friends." That's not what page 6 is saying. According to them, you're, and I quote, "the childhood sweetheart who captured the heart of America's most eligible bachelor." Olivia dragged a pillow over her face and screamed into it. "That good, huh?" Zoe laughed. "So what happened after? The gala? Did he take you home? Did you—" "Nothing happened," Olivia interrupted. "He dropped me off, made sure I got inside safely, and left. Like the gentleman he is. End of story." What she didn't mention was the moment in his car when they'd sat in comfortable silence, neither seeming willing to end the evening. How he'd reached over and tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering against her cheek just a heartbeat too long. How she'd nearly leaned in, nearly risked everything, before his phone rang with yet another business emergency. "Well, you'd better prepare yourself," Zoe warned. "The press has identified you. They know where you work." As if on cue, Olivia's phone pinged with a text from her principal. "Media camped outside school, taking precautions. Stay home today. We'll call later." "I have to go," she told Zoe abruptly. "Life crisis in progress." She had barely ended the call when her doorbell rang. Peering through the peephole, she saw a delivery man holding an enormous bouquet of wildflowers. Her favorites, not roses like most men would send. "Delivery for Ms. Thornfield," the man announced cheerfully when she opened the door. "And this," he added, handing her a small package alongside the flowers. Back inside, Olivia set the flowers on her kitchen counter and examined the package. Inside was a vintage hood ornament for a VW Beetle and a note in familiar handwriting for Betty's triumphant return. Thought this might help her feel special again. And, despite everything, Olivia smiled. It was such a Nate gesture. Thoughtful, personal, remembering details that most people would overlook. The hood ornament must have cost a fortune given its rarity, but he knew she'd appreciate it far more than diamonds or designer handbags. Her phone rang again. Nate's face flashed on the screen. "Have you seen the news?" he asked, without preamble when she answered. "Just the highlights," she replied, sinking onto her couch. "Apparently, I'm your secret girlfriend. Surprise." "I'm so sorry, Liv. I should have anticipated this. The vultures are always circling." "It's not your fault," she assured him. "But my principal has asked me to stay home today. There are reporters at the school." Nate cursed quietly. "This is exactly why I keep my private life private. Listen, I've got my PR team working on a statement to redirect attention. In the meantime, is there anything you need? Security? A place to lay low?" "I'll be fine," Olivia insisted, though the thought of being hounded by paparazzi made her stomach churn. "Thank you for the flowers. And Betty's new bling." "You got them?" His voice softened. "I wasn't sure if they'd deliver past the media gauntlet." "Media gaunt." Olivia rushed to her window and peeked through the blinds. Sure enough, 3 news vans and a handful of photographers were stationed outside her apartment building. "Oh no." "That's it," Nate decided. "I'm sending Jackson to get you. Pack a bag." "Jackson? Your head of security?" "Nate, that's ridiculous. I'm not in danger." "Your privacy is in danger," he countered. "And that matters to me. Please live, just for a few days until this blows over." She wanted to argue further but found herself agreeing. 30 minutes later, she was in the back of a tinted window SUV with Jackson, a former Navy SEAL with a surprisingly gentle demeanor, navigating through back streets to avoid being followed. "Where are we going?" she asked, noticing they weren't, heading toward Nate's beachfront home. "The boss's private residence," Jackson replied. "The beach house is too well known." "Private residence?" Olivia repeated, confused. In all their years of friendship, she'd only known about the mansion by the sea. Jackson smiled knowingly. "You'll see." After an hour's drive into the mountains, they turned onto an unmarked road that wound through dense forest before emerging at a secluded clearing. There, nestled among ancient oak trees, stood a modest A-frame cabin with a wraparound porch. "We're here," Jackson announced, pulling up to the front steps. Olivia stepped out, bewildered. "Nate owns this place?" "Bought it 5 years ago," Jackson confirmed, retrieving her bag from the trunk. "Comes here when he needs to escape. No one knows about it except his closest security team and family. And now her, apparently." The significance wasn't lost on Olivia. The cabin door swung open, and Nate appeared, dressed in jeans and a faded Harvard t-shirt. a stark contrast to his usual impeccable suits. "Welcome to my sanctuary," he said with a crooked smile. Inside, the cabin was warm and inviting, all natural wood, comfortable furniture, and large windows showcasing the stunning mountain views. It was as far from his ultra-modern beach mansion as possible, yet somehow felt more authentically Nate. "You've been keeping secrets," Olivia teased, running her hand along a bookshelf filled with well-worn classics and scientific journals. "All these years, you've owned a secret mountain hideaway and never told me?" Nate shrugged, looking almost sheepish. "Everyone needs a place that's just theirs, where they can be completely themselves without expectations. Even billionaires? Especially billionaires." He smiled, but there was something serious in his eyes. "People think they know me because they read about me in Forbes or see me at charity events, but that's just the public version. The real me is," he gestured around the cabin, "here." Olivia understood completely. She'd always felt that way about her tiny art studio, where she could paint without judgment or interruption. "I get it," she said softly. "Thank you for sharing this with me." "Who else would I share it with?" he replied, his voice equally soft. The moment hung between them, charged with unspoken emotions. Then Nate cleared his throat. "You must be hungry. I've got pasta sauce simmering." "You cook now too?" Olivia laughed, grateful for the lightened atmosphere. "What other hidden talents are you keeping from me, Spencer?" "Wouldn't you like to know, Thornfield?" He shot back with a wink. They fell into their easy rhythm, preparing lunch together while catching up on ordinary things, her latest art project, his new renewable energy initiative. For a few hours, they weren't a billionaire and a teacher hiding from the press. They were just Nate and Liv, as they'd always been. After lunch, Nate had to take a video conference with his Tokyo team. Olivia took the opportunity to explore the property, eventually settling on a boulder overlooking a small stream. The sounds of rushing water and birdsong cleared her mind, helping her process the whirlwind of the past 24 hours. "Penny for your thoughts," came Nate's voice. As he approached, conference apparently concluded. "With inflation? At least $1, she quipped, making room for him on the boulder. He sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. "Seriously though, are you okay? This media circus isn't what you signed up for." "I didn't sign up for anything," she reminded him. "I'm just the friend whose car exploded at an inconvenient moment." Nate winced. "About that, my mother called." Olivia's stomach dropped. "Let me guess, she's not thrilled about the headlines. She suggested I issue a statement clarifying that we're just childhood friends to quell unfortunate rumors." His expression was unreadable. "I told her I wouldn't be making any statements about my personal life." "Oh." Olivia wasn't sure what to make of that. Was he protecting their friendship, or... "Liv," Nate turned to face her fully, his green eyes serious. "There's something I've been wanting to talk to you about. Something I should have said a long time ago." Her heart thudded painfully against her ribs. "What is it?" But before he could answer, the sharp ping of his phone shattered the moment. Nate checked the screen and sighed heavily. "It's Valentina. Her foundation wants to partner with mine on a new initiative. I should take this." And just like that, reality intruded once again. "Of course," Olivia said with a forced smile. "Go ahead, we can talk later." As he walked away, phone to his ear, Olivia remained on the boulder, watching the stream flow endlessly forward, wondering if some opportunities, once missed, ever truly came around again. 3 days at Nate's mountain hideaway had created a strange bubble of domesticity. By day, Nate worked remotely, taking calls and video conferences from his home office, while Olivia explored the surrounding wilderness, sketched the breathtaking views, or read from his extensive library. In the evenings, they cooked together, played ridiculous board games, and talked for hours by the fireplace. It was both wonderful and torturous. a glimpse of what life with him could be like, while knowing it was merely a temporary escape from reality. "Your move," Nate said, interrupting her thoughts as they sat across from each other at the chess table. It was their third match of the evening, and like the previous two, he was soundly trouncing her. "I'm contemplating my inevitable defeat with dignity," Olivia replied, studying the board with exaggerated concentration. Chess had never been her strong suit, but she enjoyed watching the strategic brilliance with which Nate approached the game. "You're getting better," he encouraged. That last move was unexpected. "That's because I have no idea what I'm doing," she laughed, finally moving her bishop to a square that seemed marginally less disastrous than the others. Nate immediately captured her knight. "Checkmate in 3 moves." Olivia groaned and tipped over her king in surrender. "Remind me why I agreed to this again? Because I promised to teach you to make my grandmother's tiramisu afterward." "Ah, yes. Food bribery. My one weakness." Their laughter filled the cozy living room, and for a moment, Olivia allowed herself to believe that this could be her life. Quiet evenings with the man she loved, far from the pressures of his world and the limitations of hers. Nate's phone buzzed on the side table. He checked it, and his expression shifted. "Eleanor again?" Olivia guessed. "No, Jackson. The press has finally discovered you're not at your apartment. They're starting to speculate about your whereabouts." Olivia sighed. "I should probably go back soon. I can't hide forever, and my students need me." "I know," Nate said quietly, setting his phone aside. "I've been selfish keeping you here." "Selfish? You've been protecting me." "Partly," he admitted. "But also, I've enjoyed having you here. Just us, like old times, before you became Nathaniel Spencer, tech titan," she supplied. He smiled ruefully. "Something like that." Olivia began resetting the chess pieces, needing something to occupy her hands. It's been nice pretending real life doesn't exist, but we both know it does. And what if it didn't have to? The question hung in the air between them. She looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" Nate ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture she rarely saw from him. "We could make this real, Liv. You and me. Not just hidden away in the mountains, but out there too." Her heart stuttered. "Are you saying—" "I'm saying I don't want to pretend anymore." He reached across the table and took her hand. "I've been trying to find the right moment to tell you, but there never seems to be one." "Tell me what?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "That I'm in love with you." The words spilled out in a rush. "I think I always have been. I was just too scared to admit it because you're the one person I can't bear to lose." Olivia stared at him, certain she'd misheard. "But what about Valentina?" Nate looked genuinely confused. "What about her?" "She's perfect for you. Accomplished, sophisticated, beautiful. Everything your mother wants." "I don't care what my mother wants," he said firmly. "And Valentina is brilliant, yes, but she's not you. I'm just a public school art teacher with a car that's more duct tape than actual car. You're the woman who sees me, not my bank account, who challenges me, makes me laugh, keeps me grounded." His grip on her hand tightened. "Do you have any idea how rare that is in my world?" Olivia found herself unable to speak, overwhelmed by emotions she'd kept bottled up for years. Misinterpreting her silence, Nate's face fell. "I've misread everything, haven't I? You don't feel the same way." That broke her paralysis. "No, yes. She took a deep breath. "I've been in love with you since we were 15, and you helped me build that ridiculous parade float for the art club." His eyes widened. "That was 13 years ago." "I'm aware of the timeline," she said dryly. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" "Why didn't you?" she countered. They stared at each other for a long moment, before both bursting into laughter at the absurdity of their situation. Two people in love for years, each too afraid to risk their friendship by admitting it. "We're idiots!" Nate declared, standing and pulling her to her feet. "Complete and utter idiots!" "Speak for yourself," Olivia teased, her heart soaring as he drew her closer. "I'm a highly intelligent—" The rest of her sentence was lost as his lips found hers, tentative at first, then with growing confidence as she responded. It was nothing like she had imagined all those years. It was infinitely better. His arms encircled her waist, lifting her slightly off the ground as the kiss deepened. Years of unspoken longing finally finding expression. When they finally broke, apart, both breathless, Nate rested his forehead against hers. "I should have done that a decade ago." "Better late than never," she murmured, still hardly believing this was real. His phone chose that moment to buzz again, more insistently this time. With a groan, Nate reluctantly released her to check it. "It's Howard," he said, scanning the message. "My mother is calling an emergency board meeting tomorrow morning. Apparently, she's concerned about recent events affecting the Foundation's reputation." "Meaning me," Olivia translated, reality crashing back. "You're not a recent event," Nate said firmly. "You're the most important person in my life." "Your mother doesn't see it that way." "My mother doesn't get to decide who I love." The word hung between them, new and precious, despite having just been spoken minutes earlier. "This won't be easy," Olivia cautioned. "The press, your mother, your board, they'll all have opinions about us." "Let them," Nate shrugged. "I've spent my whole life living up to other people's expectations. Maybe it's time I focused on what makes me happy." "And what's that?" "You." He said it simply, without hesitation. "Us." It was tempting, so tempting, to get lost in the fantasy. But Olivia had always been the practical one in their friendship. "What about your company, the foundation, everything you've built?" "What about them?" Nate countered. "I'm not planning to abandon my responsibilities. I'm just refusing to let them dictate my personal life anymore." He pulled her close again, his expression serious. "I'm not saying it will be easy. The scrutiny will be intense. But I think what we have is worth fighting for. Don't you?" It was the question Olivia had been asking herself for years, never daring to hope she'd have the chance to answer it. Now, looking into the eyes of the man she'd loved for half her life, she made her decision. "Yes," she said firmly, "but we do this together, as equals. No hiding, no apologizing for who we are." "No hiding," he agreed. "Starting tomorrow at the board meeting. Come with me." "Are you sure? That's practically walking into the lion's den." Nate grinned, the mischievous smile she'd fallen for all those years ago. "I always was a fan of Daniel's approach to lion management. As I recall, he had divine intervention on his side. And I have something even better." He kissed her again, briefly, but tenderly. "I have you." As night fell around the cabin, they remained by the fireplace, planning their strategy for facing the world together. Outside, a gentle snow began to fall, covering the mountain in pristine white, a blank canvas for their new beginning. For the first time in her life, Olivia allowed herself to truly believe that fairy tales might happen after all, even to public school teachers with combustible cars. The Spencer Foundation headquarters occupied the top 5 floors of a gleaming skyscraper in downtown. As Nate's private elevator whisked them upward, Olivia smoothed down her emerald green dress, the same one from the gala, now paired with a tailored blazer that Nate had somehow procured overnight in exactly her size. "Nervous?" Nate asked, his hand finding hers. "Terrified," she admitted, but in a good way, like before opening night of a school play. He squeezed her fingers reassuringly, Just remember, you belong here. Not because you're with me, but because you're you. The elevator doors opened directly into an elegant reception area where a startled assistant jumped to her feet. Mr. Spencer, we weren't expecting you for another hour. Change of plans, Monica, he replied smoothly. Is everyone here? Yes, sir. Your mother arrived early and requested private time with the board before you joined. I bet she did, Nate muttered. To Monica, he added, Please let them know we're here. We? Monica's eyes darted to Olivia, recognition dawning. Oh, of course, right away, sir. As the assistant hurried off, Olivia whispered, Your mother's rallying the troops against me, isn't she? Probably, Nate conceded. But it won't work. Howard's on our side, and he holds significant influence. Mr. Spencer? Monica returned, looking distinctly uncomfortable. They've requested that you join them. Alone. Nate's jaw tightened. Did they now? Well, I'm afraid that won't be possible. Ms. Thornfield and I come as a package deal today. Without waiting for a response, he placed his hand on the small of Olivia's back and guided her toward the boardroom doors. Ready to make an entrance, she took a deep breath and nodded. Let's give them something to talk about. The double doors swung open to reveal a massive oval table surrounded by 12 impeccably dressed board members. Eleanor Spencer sat at the far end, her perfectly coiffed silver hair and regal posture making her look like a queen holding court. Her expression when she saw Olivia could have curdled milk. Nathaniel, she greeted coolly. I believe we requested a private meeting. Good morning, Mother. Board members. Nate's voice carried the easy authority of someone used to commanding rooms far more intimidating than this one. I understood this meeting was called to discuss recent events affecting the Foundation. As Ms. Thornfield is central to those events, her presence seemed appropriate. Howard Blackwell's weathered face creased into a smile. Quite right, my boy. Good morning, Olivia. Mr. Blackwell, she returned, warmly. Perhaps we should begin, suggested Gerald Wingate, the Foundation's oldest board member and Eleanor's closest ally. There have been concerning developments in the press. If you're referring to the speculation about my personal life, Nate interrupted. I'd like to address that directly. He moved to the head of the table, still holding Olivia's hand. Yes, the rumors are true. Olivia and I are together. This isn't a recent development in the sense that we've known each other for 20 years, but it is new in the sense that we've finally acknowledged what's been there all along. A murmur rippled around the table. Eleanor's face remained impassive, but her knuckles whitened around her pen. While I respect this board enormously, Nate continued, I want to be clear that my personal life is not up for debate or approval. I'm here as a courtesy to inform you of the facts, so we can manage any public relations considerations professionally. Nathaniel, Eleanor finally spoke, her voice tight. No one is questioning your autonomy. Our concern is for the Foundation's image and the potential distraction this causes at a critical fundraising juncture. I fail to see how my relationship status impacts our mission to provide educational opportunities to underserved communities. Nate replied evenly. Gerald cleared his throat. The concern, Mr. Spencer, is that Ms. Thornfield's background may not align with the level of sophistication our donors expect from the Spencer family associations. Olivia felt Nate tense beside her, but before he could respond, she stepped forward. If I may? All eyes turned to her. Eleanor's expression suggested she was witnessing something akin to a dog attempting calculus. I understand your concerns, Olivia began, her teacher's voice steady and clear. You're worried that I don't fit the mold of what a billionaire's partner should be. And you're right, I don't. I'm not from wealth or privilege. I drive or drove a car held together by hope and duct tape. I spend my days covered in glitter and temper paint. She moved around the table slowly, making eye contact with each board member. But I also built an art therapy program that has decreased dropout rates in at-risk schools by 40%. I've helped secure grants that brought arts education to over 5,000 underprivileged children. And I've known Nathaniel Spencer since he was a gangly kid with braces who couldn't talk to girls. That earned a chuckle from Howard and a few others. The Spencer Foundation exists to create educational opportunities for those who wouldn't otherwise have them, Olivia continued. I've dedicated my career to the same mission. So perhaps, instead of seeing me as a liability, you might consider the possibility that I understand your donor base from a unique perspective. I work with the very children your programs are designed to help. A heavy silence fell over the room. Eleanor's expression remained unchanged, but several board members looked thoughtful. Well said, Ms. Thornfield, Howard finally declared, breaking the tension. I, for one, think your perspective would be an asset to this foundation. Eleanor set down her pen with deliberate care. While Ms. Thornfield's work is admirable, that doesn't change the fact that this relationship has created a media circus that threatens to overshadow our upcoming initiatives. Actually, came a new voice from the doorway. I believe I can help with that. All heads turned to see Valentina Mendez striding into the room, impeccable in a tailored suit that probably cost more than Olivia's annual salary. Dr. Mendez, Eleanor exclaimed, clearly flustered. We weren't expecting you. Nathaniel invited me, Valentina explained, nodding respectfully to Nate. When he called last night to explain the situation, I offered my assistance. Nate smiled gratefully. Valentina has an interesting proposal for the foundation. The neurosurgeon placed a sleek presentation folder in front of each board member. My research has shown remarkable success using art therapy and neurological recovery. I'm proposing a joint initiative between my foundation and yours, a nationwide program implementing Ms. Thornfield's methodology in pediatric rehabilitation centers. She clicked a remote, and the room screens lit up with clinical data. The preliminary results are impressive. Children recovering from traumatic brain injuries show 32% faster improvement in cognitive function when art therapy is incorporated into their treatment plan. Eleanor looked like she'd swallowed something particularly unpleasant. This is all very interesting, but the Mendez Foundation is prepared to commit $20 million to this initiative, Valentina continued smoothly. With the Spencer Foundation as our partner, we could transform pediatric neurorehabilitation across the country. 20 million. Gerald Wingate's eyebrows shot up. That's substantial. It's revolutionary, Howard corrected, already flipping through the proposal with enthusiasm. This could change thousands of lives. And, Valentina added with a smile directed at Olivia, it would give the press something far more interesting to discuss than Nathaniel's love life. The room erupted into excited conversation as board members pored over the data. Nate seized the opportunity to pull Olivia and Valentina aside. Thank you, he said quietly to Valentina. This is beyond what I asked for. It's not a favor, she replied seriously. Your Olivia's program is genuinely groundbreaking. My team has been following her work for months. This partnership makes scientific and philanthropic sense. Olivia was speechless. I don't know what to say. Say you'll direct the program, Valentina suggested. We need someone with your expertise and passion. But my students could be part of a pilot program, Nate interjected, excitement building in his voice. Think about it, Liv. Your methods could help children across the country. The possibilities whirled through Olivia's mind. The chance to expand her work beyond what she'd ever imagined. To help not just her small corner of the world, but to create systemic change. I need time to think, she said honestly. Of course, Valentina nodded. But first, let's win over this board. For the next hour, the three of them presented a united front, answering questions and outlining the potential impact of the collaboration. One by one, the board members came around, until only Eleanor remained unmoved. As the meeting concluded, she approached Olivia while Nate was deep in conversation with Howard. "You've won this round," Eleanor said quietly. "But make no mistake, if you hurt my son or damage what he's built, there will be consequences." Olivia met the older woman's gaze steadily. "I've loved your son for half my life, Mrs. Spencer. I'd die before I hurt him." Something flickered in Eleanor's eyes. Not quite approval, but perhaps a reluctant reassessment. "We shall see." With a curt nod, she swept from the room, leaving Olivia to wonder if she'd just received the closest thing to a blessing Eleanor Spencer was capable of giving. And 6 months later, Olivia stood in the center of a bright, spacious studio, surrounded by children wielding paintbrushes with varying degrees of coordination. The Spencer Mendez Art Therapy Initiative had launched pilot programs in 3 cities, with plans to expand to 20 more by year's end. Ms. Olivia, look. 6-year-old Marissa, recovering from a severe car accident, held up a watercolor blob that vaguely resembled a butterfly. "I made it for Dr. Val when she visits tomorrow." "It's beautiful," Olivia assured her, kneeling to examine the painting more closely. "She's going to love it." From the doorway came a familiar voice. "Not as much as I love watching you in your element." Nate leaned against the frame, his suit jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up, looking every bit the billionaire businessman, except for the paint smudge on his cheek, a remnant from his morning visit to the center. "You're early," Olivia noted, checking her watch. "Board meeting finished ahead of schedule. Even my mother is impressed with the program's results." "High praise indeed," Olivia laughed, instructing her young artist to begin cleaning up. As the children dispersed to wash brushes and hands, she crossed to Nate, automatically reaching up to wipe the paint from his face. "Leave it," he captured her hand. "I'm thinking of making it my new look. Very avant-garde CEO. Bold choice for your Forbes cover next month." Speaking of bold choices, he reached into his pocket and produced a small velvet box. "I have a question for you." Olivia's heart stopped. "Nate." "Not here," he clarified quickly, tucking the box away again. "Tonight, properly, with candlelight and that ridiculous tiramisu you love so much. I just wanted you to know it was coming." "Advance notice for a surprise proposal?" She raised an eyebrow. "Very efficient. I know how you hate being caught off guard." His expression turned serious. "I also wanted to give you time to think. Your life has changed so much already because of me. This would be another big step." Olivia placed her hands on either side of his face, unconcerned about who might see. "Every change has been my choice, Nate. Every step has been one I wanted to take. Even dealing with my mother at Sunday dinners?" "Even that," she confirmed, with a laugh. "Though I still think she checks her silverware count when I leave." Behind them, little Marissa called out, "Ms. Olivia, are you going to marry Mr. Nate? Can I be the flower girl?" Heat rushed to Olivia's cheeks as the entire room of children turned their attention to the couple. "That's a conversation for another time, sweetheart." "But you love him, right?" the child persisted. "You look at him like my mommy looks at my daddy." Nate's eyes crinkled, with amusement and something deeper, something that made Olivia's heart swell. "Yes, Marissa," she admitted. "I do love him. A lot," Nate added, not taking his eyes off Olivia. "A whole lot," she agreed. "You gross," declared 7-year-old Tyler from across the room. "Are you gonna kiss now?" "Absolutely not," Nate replied with mock seriousness. "That would be completely inappropriate, at least until after snack time," Olivia added in a stage whisper that sent the children into gales of giggles. As they herded their young charges toward the cafeteria, Nate's hand found Olivia's, their fingers intertwining naturally. It wasn't the life either of them had imagined, but somehow, it was exactly the one they both needed. By the way, Nate murmured as they walked, Betty's restoration is finally complete. They're delivering her tomorrow. With the special hood ornament? And a few other upgrades. Don't worry, they kept her vintage charm intact. Olivia leaned her head against his shoulder briefly. My car and my heart, both fully restored in the same year. What are the odds? With you, Liv, Nate replied, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. I've learned to stop calculating odds and start believing in possibilities. Behind them, a chorus of "Ew" erupted from their pint-sized audience, followed by delighted laughter. Ahead of them stretched a future neither had dared to hope for, but both had secretly wanted. A future they would build together. One messy, beautiful, love-filled day at a time.